My dad tries to do everything in his power to prevent me from moving out and treats me like a child, even though I'm 20 and I'm sick of it. I've been struggling financially ever since I became an adult due to unstable jobs, unemployment, and random car repairs. I've lived with my parents since I was 15, so they feel like they need to raise me again since my grandparents did it incorrectly. The problem is, they are still treating me as if I'm a teenager that needs constant parental control and supervision, even though I am 20 years old, and it's really messing with my mental health. When I was 19, I finally acquired a stable job and a car, so I tried to move into my friend's house. My mom was okay with it, as long as I am happy and safe, but my dad absolutely freaked out and told me I'm making a stupid decision, and I will fuck the whole family and my future over if I do this, and overall just trying his hardest to guilt-trip me into thinking I'm doing something wrong just by leaving. When I did pack up my most valuable stuff and leave, my dad begged me to come home and talk it out with him and work on the business he spent all his money on. I foolishly obliged, and when I came home, he spent 3 hours trying to talk me out of it, and I listened to him patiently. Then, when it was finally my turn to speak, I tried to remind him that I am a legal adult, even if I don't look like one, and I'll be fine on my own. He wouldn't even let me get through 2 sentences before he interrupted me and screamed, "No! That's childish! Foolish and childish! You are not an adult. Your frontal lobe isn't fully developed. You can't make it on your own. This isn't the 1950s. This made me feel like shit, and I knew he planned on using that dialogue no matter what I tried to retort with, and neither of us were going to change our minds no matter what. Eventually, we made an agreement that I will pay a small amount of rent to my friends for a room in their house, for less than half the price normal rent would cost, but spend half of my week at my parents' house and go back and forth. He used the business we started as an excuse to keep me there, always calling me and cutting my time short, demanding I come home because there's work that needs to be done. I didn't want to ruin our relationship because he spent a lot of money getting it started, but it hasn't really gone anywhere even though I do work on it. Anyways, my original plan was to just slowly move all my stuff to my friend's house, and eventually I'll fully move in with my friends. This was a few months back, and I know he was being shitty and manipulative, but I wasn't sure how else to deal with it. About a month and a half into this ordeal, someone crashed into my car and destroyed it, and because of this I lost my job so I could no longer pay rent, and I was forced to move back in with my parents. When the insurance finally paid out, I accidentally bought a lemon of a car and it bankrupted me with a bunch of random mechanical issues, and in the end, left me stranded on the side of the road with a $500 tow yard fee that was paid by my mom because I already spent all my money from my new job on the last repair. A few weeks ago, bought an old running car from a family friend for $250 and spent all of my last paycheck getting the tires replaced and fixing the transmission problem it had. Thankfully, my mechanic said this car was in a way better shape the other two I had combined, so I shouldn't have to worry about unexpected future repairs eating my wallet up. I'm currently broke and in debt to my mom because she helped me pay for the new car and my repairs and the tow yard and everything. I'll be able to pay her off with my next paycheck, but it'll eat half of it up. They found a house they like that's closer to my job, 15 minutes instead of 45 minutes away, and applied to rent it. And I didn't want to leave them in the mud, so I agreed to help them rent it and send my pay stubs. I think I might have made a mistake, but I'm not sure what else I was supposed to do. My parents expect me to live with them until I finish school, and I don't want that. My dad is delusional and thinks I need to be protected, and I'm immediately going to become homeless or kidnapped or whatever if I move out. So he expects me to live with them until I finish school. I hate living with my parents because even though they look out for me and they feed me and always save me when I have a pay for something I am unable to, my dad has an extremely toxic and clingy personality, and I'm not happy having to deal with him every goddamn day. He's always insulting and demeaning my hobbies and acting like I'm wasting time when I'm being creative and working on my own personal projects. Whenever he comes home from work and I'm in my room, he calls my cell phone and acts like I'm doing something wrong by having alone time, and God forbid doing art instead of being in the living room rewatching some stupid show with him or doing chores. He's always making my dating life his business and trying to give his advice or input when I don't want it, and asks if every girl I go on one date with is my GF now, and I think it's really frustrating and uncomfortable how he forces me to label what I'm doing and tell him what I'm up to all the time. Every time I'm out of the house outside of my work hours, he just has to call me and ask me what I'm doing. And if I don't answer the phone, he gets all pissy when I get home and tells me how worried he was and how shitty it was of me not to tell him, even though I do it because I'm trying to prove the point that I'm independent and I'll just call them if it's an emergency. I know I still look like a troubled teenager in his eyes, but I really am an adult, and I honestly hate being around him every day because I hate how he treated me when I was 17, and I think our personalities just clash too much and we really aren't compatible to live together without fighting for control and my own privacy. I know for a fact that I would have created and sold so much more art if it went for him, always trying to shut my creativity down and getting mad at me for wasting my time, doing personal projects instead of chores or whatever. He is just overall very manipulative and clingy and controlling, and I feel as if I can't fully be myself and teach my full potential as long as I live with, because he always has to use his parental authority on me. I'm not okay with the way he continues to treat me like a child, and I just desperately want to live on my own without him constantly taking my spare time and getting in my business and having to listen to him throw an adult temper tantrum at least once a week. I'm just trying to figure out how to get my own place without his interference. I already have a few friends who would be down to move with me. I think I'm going to save up for my own rental and post my room on Facebook and Craigslist so I can move and find someone to take my place to help them pay rent so they don't get evicted. The time an entitled mom tried to reserve my cat for her kid's birthday. So, I, 18F, have a very fluffy, very adorable cat named Mochi. He's basically my little buddy, and he's got one of those Instagram accounts where I post his funny antics, so a lot of people in my neighborhood know about him, including this one mom I'll call EM, who has a 6-year-old daughter super into cats. No biggie, right? One day, EM messages me on Instagram saying her daughter is absolutely obsessed with Mochi and asking if I could bring him to her daughter's birthday party the following weekend so the kids can play with him. I politely decline, explaining that Mochi doesn't do well in new environments and would likely hide or freak out around loud kids. EM's response? Well, can you loan him to us for the day? Yes, she literally wanted me to just hand over my cat as if he were a library book or something. She promised they'd take good care of him and even offered to pay me $20 for the inconvenience. I politely refuse again, saying that Mochi isn't up for loan and I don't think it would be safe or comfortable for him. EM immediately switches tactics, calling me selfish and accusing me of gatekeeping joy from her daughter. She rants about how it's just one day, and I owe it to the community because I flaunt Mochi's photos online. Now I'm getting irritated. I tell her that my cat isn't an accessory, and he's definitely not something I owe to the neighborhood. I assume that's the end of it, until the day of the party. I'm in my apartment when I hear a loud knock at my door. It's EM and her daughter, with the girl holding a sparkly cat carrier. EM smiles and says, "Oh, we came to pick up Mochi." She acts as if we had agreed on this and just expected me to hand him over on demand. Completely stunned, I tell her, "I never agreed to this and I'm not giving you my cat." EM's smile drops instantly, and she launches into this loud, dramatic rant about how I'm ruining her daughter's special day and that I shouldn't show off my cat if I don't want to share. Her daughter starts tearing up and EM gives me this accusing look, like I've just broken her kid's heart on purpose. My neighbor down the hall actually poked her head out to see what was going on, which was enough for EM to grab her daughter and storm off, yelling, "I'll make sure everyone knows how selfish you are." Later, I found out from mutual friends that she spread a story around the neighborhood that I baited her daughter with Mochi, only to withhold him out of spite. No one really believed her, but she still gives me the dirtiest looks anytime I pass her. Mochi? Completely oblivious and unbothered, living his best life as usual. Edit. The cat has passed away, sorry. Don't ask for cat tax. Out of respect, I do love my late cat and I wanted to relive an old memory, so that's why I'm writing this. My daughter's father wants to use her as therapy for his wife. I, 33F, going to preface this by saying my 6-year-old daughter's father, 37M, I'm going to call him Jeff, has never been my romantic partner. We had a one-night stand. I don't like people calling him my ex, since it makes it seem we had some kind of emotional attachment. He was never involved after I told him I was pregnant, and actually wanted me to terminate the pregnancy, but I decided to raise my child alone since I have enough money to raise her without child support. For the whole pregnancy and the first 4 years, Jeff was not in the picture. On my mother's recommendation, I did send him pictures and invited him to special events, but he always replied he had no interest in my daughter. 2 years ago, he reappeared and began demanding parental rights. When I didn't do what he wanted, he sued and was told no, he was not getting parental rights. He was given the offer to pay child support and then we can revisit giving him actual rights, but He has refused. He has the money, much more than me, but he refuses. I still offered to let him see my daughter in a casual manner, no child support needed, with the agreement anything legal, medical, or educational will not involve him. He pushed the boundaries and we had a fallout. After that, we didn't hear from him for almost 6 weeks before he called to meet for Christmas. After much discussion, I agreed to bring my daughter over on the condition my daughter's godparents could come. Thus, we went over for Christmas dinner. And finding out Jeff is married and had never told his family he had a child. It was great to be judged by a bunch of strangers. It was uncomfortable the whole time. I'm going to use fake names, but let's say my daughter's name is Katie. His wife kept calling my daughter Gabrielle. Not the actual name she used, but it was that different to my daughter's name. The wife was also very physical, trying to pick up my daughter or parent her. I would block her or tell her to please let me deal with my child. The whole time she pretty much ignored me, but Katie didn't seem nervous, so I decided to just bid my time. I hit my limit when my daughter said she needed the bathroom and this stranger went, "Oh, Gabby, you need potty? Let mommy change you." My daughter hasn't worn diapers in a while now and she's more than capable of going alone to the bathroom. I immediately told her to stay away from my daughter and that we were leaving. The woman started wailing that I was kidnapping her baby girl and tried to lunge at me. Her in-laws got in the middle and hold her, consoling her and saying that we weren't leaving and for her to calm down like she was the victim. At that point, I just glared at Jeff and told him he better explain, or I would be calling the police. He asked me to speak in private in another room and that I could just leave my daughter with his parents. No way that would ever happen. Katie's godparents took her with them despite the wife having a full meltdown. Jeff and I spoke outside and he explained that he and his wife recently lost a daughter. I'm not going to give specific details on that. All I'll say it was sudden and nobody's fault. And as I can only imagine, it had caused some psychological issues to his wife. Apparently, he had the brilliant idea that having Katie pass as their lost child would help his wife, without telling me. And that's why he wanted visitations and parental rights. He pleaded for me to leave my daughter with him for a little bit. I asked him what was his plan when his wife heals. His response was disgusting. "Well, I'll just send Katie back with you and it will be just like before." I told him he was insane if he thought I would let him use my daughter like that. What his wife needs is therapy with a professional, not feeding her delusions. And I would not let that woman within miles from my daughter. He told me I was being cruel and didn't know the pain of losing a child. I agreed with him, but reminded Jeff that my priority is not his family. It's my child. What he and his family do to work through their grief has nothing to do with us. I also told him to call his lawyer because I am making sure he never has contact with my child. So that's what I'm bracing for. He's been blasting my phone since Christmas, but I can easily ignore him. My daughter and I are doing a small travel vacation. This isn't an update, just something I feel needs to be said. My daughter is set for life monetarily. She has a trust, and I make really good money in my position. If she was 18 right now, I could put her through college without a loan. She doesn't need child support for quality of life. If I could get child support and never worry about her father trying something, I would be suing him in a heartbeat. But after talking to a lawyer and realizing the risk, I've taken the decision that child support or possible inheritance is not worth my child's safety. Safety is always first. Edit. January 6th, 2024. Hey everyone, Happy New Year's! This isn't so much a real update as just letting people know we are home and safe. My daughter is spending the rest of her vacation with her godparents on another trip while I work on things. Moving might be something I'll be looking into, though that is a long-term plan considering all it takes. I won't share too many details on what my lawyer is going to be doing, but we are absolutely going to push for an RO. I might not post for some time, at least not until things settled. I do appreciate all the support and good advice. I'm taking a lot of it into account as I plan how to move forward.